PS5. Why? Like, why are you surprised that this has performance issues? I bought it on the PS4, the PS5. Why? I mean, that's basically the issue that I have with people complaining about um, the game not running well. It's like, this wasn't made for you. You know, it's. I mean, like, let me put it this way, okay? People complaining about
Mhm.
people complaining about Cyberpunk 2077 running poorly on the PS4 and the original Xbox and the
Mhm.
PS5 and the Series X. The way I feel about it, like, I understand that you deserve to have a product that you paid $60 for. You deserve to have a product that works. That is true of any product. Okay, you could easily take out CD Projekt Red, and I made the same complaints about Nintendo with their Joy Cons, Nintendo in Japan with their Switches that like are failing people in Japan. If you pay money for a product, you deserve to have a working product because that is the expectation that you have for what you paid for. But okay, here's the difference. Okay, and here's where I say that there's a problem. There's an issue here with Microsoft and Sony, is that Microsoft and Sony, for any product that's on their storefront, that's on their console, you expect a certain level of quality. It's like if you go to a store, to a grocery store, and you buy a can of peas, green peas. Okay, you expect that that can of green peas is going to have meet a certain level of quality. So here's my thing, okay, and this isn't just CD Projekt Red, okay, because this has happened numerous times with games having major issues on these systems, and Microsoft and Sony just let them stay there. This one gets pulled because it's a big kerfuffle. It's more public, but I mean, they should have done if you're going to do the CD Projekt Red, they should have done this to Fallout 76.
Which makes me wonder where are the beeping standards in the Sony store that they pulled pulled Cyberpunk, but not 76.
I mean, because let's keep it 100% real. Cyberpunk has issues, but I guarantee the issues aren't nearly as bad on Cyberpunk as they were on 76, where people were losing their saved games, people were losing their inventory, like, like, I mean, enemies were spawning in. Like, the issues of Cyberpunk seem almost secondary to what was going on with 76, and yet that game stayed on the storefront. So I'm like very much like, what is this? Okay, and here's the thing: the first thing, Bethesda never apologized for the state of that game at launch. Never. They still haven't apologized. As a matter of fact, their first major announcement that they made at the start of this year for Fallout 76
Was
was,
the Atom Shop, wasn't it?
well, yeah, it was the Fallout First, where you pay $150 a year for a premium subscription model for the game. But apparently, Cyberpunk 2077 is the problem. Is the worst game ever released. Like people have very selective memories about this. And that's where I have a problem. Um, it's just people having selective memories about what's actually going on.
Hmm. For me,
So
I'm just surprised that this of all things actually got taken down instead of 76.
okay, so basically, here's what I'm reading from IGN. It says uh, CD Projekt Red didn't start working on Cyberpunk 2077 until the final major piece of DLC for The Witcher 3 was released, which was May 31st, 2016, which means they didn't start development until after that. So basically, this is a 4.5. This is, let's see, March, April, no, January, February, March, April, May, June. This is a 4.5 year game for something. I mean, for the game to have as much content as it does and to be as stable as it is, and the size that it is, for them only having 4.5 years of development, considering that games like this normally take 5, 6, 7 years, the developers did their best. It was upper management and the executives and the investors who bent them over and stuck it in their pooter, as it were. Um,
How classy.
well, I mean that's the only way you could really put it, you know.
Yeah, I'm just saying that you have a colorful choice of words.
That's the only way you can really put it. You can't like, okay, like, I'm not gonna sit there and look at the developers. How could you let this happen? Because they did the best. Like, okay, I have the game on PC, which is literally the best version of this game right now. And while it has some bugs. It's not to the issue where I'm like, man, I'm falling through the floor and man, like this, like, okay, I saw a montage on YouTube of the bugs of Fallout 76, and I was like, wow, these bugs are.
Vicious.
Well, actually, they're funny. They look funny.
I said vicious and and how and how forward they are.
There's
Like,
this bug where this guy is on a motorcycle and he drives up this NPC's face and flies up into the air. There's another bug where a guy gets on a motorcycle and it warps into the air. Then it comes crashing down. It doesn't explode. It bounces once and then it crashes into the floor, into the concrete. I'm like, this is actually kind of funny, but I haven't had any of those issues. To me,
I'm not surprised.
but then again, I have it on the lead platform. I have it what it was built for. I have a PC that's spec'd out to run a certain level of games.
Quality.
So, yeah, like, I have the game the way it was meant to be played. I mean, kind of like if you're a Nintendo gamer and you have a Wii and you have No More Heroes 1 and 2, you have the way those games were meant to be played. If you have a Wii U and you have Wonderful 101, you are playing Wonderful 101 the way it was built to be played. Okay? um, so I have the game on PC. So I'm not having those issues. You know what I'm saying?
I get you.
But that being said, I'm not going to discount people who are. You deserve to have a good gaming experience with however much you spend on the game. With that also being said, yes, CD Projekt Red's upper management and their investors are at fault because they forced this through even though this game wasn't ready. But also, Microsoft and Sony share some blame because why was this? If this game was this buggy and glitchy, how was it allowed to be on your storefront? Doesn't that beg the question?
It makes me wonder how much how their bug testing system works.
I mean, that's my issue because, like, here's the thing. People are like, how could CD Projekt Red do this? How could Sony or Microsoft allow this product to be? I mean, because basically, okay, CD Projekt Red is like the video games that are on Nintendo's storefront, their eShop, or Sony's eShop, or Microsoft's eShop, or in the stores on their platform. Is like you go to a store and that's a product, right? It's like a product on a shelf. If a product has an issue and it has to be recalled, the people who own that store will be like, okay, here's this issue with this product, we're pulling it off our shelves. But there's certain products that stores won't carry because they have a history of being messed up. They're like, that's too low quality for us.
Kind of like how come some card stores actually are iffy about holding certain card packs for a limited amount of time, like
because of pirate cards and stuff like that. Not pirate cards.
Yeah,
Duplicates and
of
rip-offs.
Or how much product they getting or how much of the quality the game is,
Yeah.
which can be a story of its very own.
Yeah, so my issue is this. The people who are like, man, this is the worst game ever. This has destroyed the world. Really?
I was gonna say
Did
it
it?
clearly left a mark on the world.
I mean, this is the worst. This is the worst game of all time. Is it? Cause
I didn't say it's the worst, but I know it left a mark. That's for sure.
here's what I'm gonna say. If Cyberpunk 2077 is the worst game you've ever played, if it literally hands down is the worst game you ever played, you have lived a charmed life. Because you obviously weren't there for
the The Last of Us, No Man's Sky.
well, not Last of Us just is an overrated game. It's not like crashing. You weren't there for No Man's Sky, how that game was a massive disappointment at launch, and they fixed it over time. Hello Games fixed it over time. I still don't like it, but they really did go back to the drawing board to fix that game. Final Fantasy 14, when that game first launched, was a steaming pile of shit, and then Square
So much
Enix.
that they actually had to do an event to reset the world.
Yeah, but over time they fixed that game. Over time they did fix that game, and there was a lot of community support and feedback and stuff like that, and the game is like, a lot of people will tell you that is a great Final Fantasy MMO. I don't think Final Fantasy should have ever been an MMO, so I've never played it, but from people I've heard, they say it's great. I'll take their word for it. But I mean, but let's talk about some really bad games that people have released that are just terrible. I mean, Fallout 76, Fallout 4, um, The Division. Okay, and these are just games that came out this generation. Okay, I'm not talking about Skyrim. Oh God, have people forgotten Skyrim on the PS3? Have people forgotten how that game was so broken, buggy, and glitchy that literally it would crash constantly? Have people forgotten that?
Some people might have, depending on which games that they usually play.
So I'm kind of like when I see people say this is the worst launch of a game ever. Really? I think you're suffering from some selective memory loss.
I would say that they clearly have a picturesque view of the world.
You know, you're clearly cherry picking information, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like my one little
rant.
Well, it's not really a rant. It's just it was just a kind of a discussion. Because if I was ranting, I'd be talking louder and starting to get all.
Trust me, ranting helps out when you feel like that there's nothing else left in this.
Well, I'm not really angry. I'm just like, I find it ironic and unusual that people look. Most of the people who are really harping on this, they want views. It's about getting views. I get that. I understand it. I'm not against it. What bothers me is that it's very easy. It's very easy to
complain at times.
Well, it's very easy to say, well, this is the problem. This is what's going on. When there's blame to go all around, like, okay, yes, CD Projekt Red, the executives and the upper management need to be brought to task because they basically pulled a bait and switch with half of their audience, because 41% of the sales that they got for this game was on the PS4.
Ooh.
So almost half of their audience was on consoles. So they should have like I said, they should have released the PC version first, since that was the most complete, and then they should have released.
The other systems during certain times, right?
They should have said we're releasing the PC version first because, made up some BS reason that wasn't. It's the most stable, and then while they were working on the PC version, they should have gotten the PS4, Xbox One version stable and released those in January or
Yeah.
February. Like that. That should have been that should have been their goal.
Yeah, and sure, it would piss off some people because they have to wait longer. But would you ever wait longer for a product that doesn't go into Glitch City?
I mean, they could have sweetened the deal. They could have said, "Hey, for those of you who pre-ordered this game, we're sorry we're pushing back the console versions. You get the free soundtrack that comes with the game." Like, I mean, like people like little shit like that, and people would have waited. People waited years. They would have waited a little bit longer. So, I mean, I don't think that would have been like, "Oh, this is impossible." You know what I'm saying? But
it, it depends on who's the most patient. And if anything, I'm one of the more patient people.
well, I mean, like I said, I am very much I'm I'm into it. I'm just saying, like people were just way too way too
Reactionary.
yeah, way too reactionary and way too like, oh man, this is insane. How could they do that? I'm like, dude, calm the fuck down. It's a game. Let me tell you something. This is not the most buggy game ever released on PC. Not by ever released. Period. This is not it. Okay.
I was going to say it definitely takes it's definitely trying to take buggiest game of 2020.
Uh, I mean, I would still say the buggiest game of 2020 is still Fallout 76. I would
say
still
it's trying
say
to be the buggiest of 2020, but
I would
I
still
think
say
that tile's already taken.
I would still say Fallout 76 because here's the thing, okay? Fallout 76 was messed up on everything. And Bethesda, rather than deal with the bugs, they would rather sell you a premium subscription model. So, I mean, at least CD Projekt Red actually acknowledged that, oh, we fucked up. We're sorry. We're going to fix it. Okay, at least because in order for you to fix a problem, you have to acknowledge that you have a problem first. Then you can worry about trying to fix it. If you ignore the problem, then it can never get fixed because you don't even acknowledge that it's there, you know?
Yeah, and how that turns out can be mixed results in of himself.
Yeah, so that's where I'm kind of like, okay, like at least they're acknowledging that there is a problem. Because, like I said, Bethesda has never acknowledged that any of their games had major bugs and needed to be fixed. They didn't do it with Skyrim. They didn't do it with Oblivion. They didn't do it with Fallout 76.
Oh, they never would do a 76.
So, that bothers me. That. But anyway, apparently they're porting over No More Heroes 1 and 2 to PC. I will not be buying those games on PC.
Let me guess. Too little waggle.
Here's the thing. No More Heroes 1 and 2 were built for the Wii. And if you don't have a control scheme that is commiserate or duplicates what you could do on the Wii, you're missing out on the game. And yes, the humor in No More Heroes is really childish, but it's part of the game.
Crude,
it's part of the game.
It's what it stands for, right?
It's part of the game. It's like you gotta take the bitter with the sweet. And even though, look, listen, when I was a high schooler and in college, it was really funny. Now I'm like, it's kind of stupid, but it's like one of those stupids where it's like, this is stupid, but it's a part of my childhood, so I'm nostalgizing it into being okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, as I was saying, um, keep it moving, keep it moving. We have some news stories for you. Do you have anything else you want to add about CD Projekt Red before we get into these news stories?
To be honest, I'm surprised that you didn't mention the other game that got canned for a different reason.
You mean the that game that got canned because it talked shit about Xi Jinping, the China's
Xi
communist
Jinping.
dictator president, because he's equated with Winnie the
Xi
Pooh,
Jinping. Yeah.
even though he kind of does look like Winnie the
Oh
Pooh,
yeah.
which is kind of weird. I mean, hell,
That's the
look,
funny
listen,
part.
look. Here's the thing. Here's what people need to understand. Okay, in America, we are used to being able to pick on our presidents because even though even though we
Freedom
have
of speech.
various government entities that want to take away your freedom of speech and freedom of expression, you have the right to ridicule public figures because they are public figures. Which is why, I can say that Donald Trump is a fat, bald headed, hairpiece wearing piece of shit. And, no one's going to bust down my door and take me to jail for saying that. Now, if you're in communist China and you say that, they might
you might to have your door opened.
Well, first of all, the first thing that'll happen, well, no, they don't do that anymore. What they'll do is that every citizen in communist China has a social rating, and as your social rating goes down, more and more privileges are closed off to you. So there's this guy in communist China who is like a modern martial artist who goes around kicking the shit out of these like Shaolin, Wulin martial artists, like more traditional martial artists, because he claims that their martial arts look pretty, but they aren't practical. And he kicks the shit out of them. His social rating is so low that he can't even though he has the money, he can't get a ticket to leave the country. So that's how they basically ostracize him. And when they do have sanctioned bouts for him in China, he has to wear like a full mask and a full outfit and paint his face and look like a buffoon while kicking these people's asses. It's kind of sad. But that's China. Like, here's the thing. If we had one world government that was based on democracy and, humanist, progressive values, we wouldn't have this. But every country has their own sovereignty and they can do whatever they want. So, China's a huge market. And if you want to sell shit there, you got to play by their rules. So, that's the way it is. I mean, why do you think when Disney releases movies in China, they shoot entire scenes where they basically go around
Star Wars.
Not just Star Wars, the Marvel movies. There's entire scenes shot around China. Why do you think in Doctor Strange? Now, if you're a Doctor Strange fan, which I'm not the biggest fan, like the new Strange, but old Doctor Strange, I have the comics of. In the old Doctor Strange, the Master that was paid by that lady, that white lady, is supposed to be not a Cambodian, a Tibetan monk, right? But China thinks Tibet belongs to them. They've basically occupied the nation and they claim it's theirs. So, do you think Disney that wants to sell wants to make billions of dollars in China is gonna fucking piss off the Chinese government? No. So they made it into a white lady. They whitewashed a Tibetan character. It's the reason why the Mandarin in Iron Man 3 is not actually the Mandarin. It's fucking Ben Kingsley, who's white. He doesn't look white. I think he's part Indian as well, like Southeast Indian, like India Indian. But like that. Look, that's business. That's business. Okay, if you want the big money, you got to play in China. That's just how it is. All right. So, I mean, do I like it? No, but I mean, like, here's the thing. I don't do business in China, so I can afford to say fuck you. But if you're Disney or Marvel or a big software company, you want to sell your games in China, you got to play by their rules, which means you got to do what they tell you to do.
Mm.
You know, there's tons of shit. There's tons of shit that we don't like in this world, but you know, you gotta deal with it because that's them's the rules. You know, um, I know people get mad about that. They're like, "How could you say that? How could you say that? How could you do that?" Look, man, that's how it is. That's how the world works. Um, like if you're in a situation where you don't have a lot of power, you have to play by the rules until you can either get out of that situation, or if you can't get out of that situation, you have to carve a niche where you can be yourself and do the best you can. But in China, here's the thing, like most of the people in China, they love it over there. Well, I shouldn't say most. The people who are quote unquote middle class in China, they love it. The poor people who raise the food, are living in bone breaking poverty. They don't know it. They love it. They're like, oh, it's better than it was when people were starving, 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's so, I mean, for them,
it's progress.
Yeah, for them, it's progress, okay? Like here in America, we'd be like, man, fuck this shit. But they're like, yeah, well, we got to do what we got to do. So, like you can't judge everything by what you like. That's the rule of this segment, okay? But like I said, how the hell did? But back to what I was originally saying. Whatever. Anything else you want to add before we move on to the next topic?
To be honest with you, I was about to ask, what is on the list?
Okay, our next topic is a goodie. A good. It's a good. It's a good. Our next topic is a game that because Valve cannot count to 3.
I'm sorry. That always gets me laughing.
They can't. They cannot.
Whenever you hear the word 3, you always can imagine 2 things. 1, a series. 2, Valve can never count to 3.
They can't count to 3. It is impossible for them to count to 3. They're like 1, 2, 1.5, 2.5. Like Half-Life 2 episode 1, Half-Life 2 episode 1.1, episode 1.2, and they couldn't even get to 1.3. So we will never get a Team Fortress 3 or Counter-Strike 3. It's not going to happen. So
I'm
basically,
sorry. It's always funny to hear them never count to 3.
They can't count to 3. Even when they tried to do a 3, they're like Half-Life, Alex. They can't do it. So basically, the Turtle Rock, the people who made Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, since Valve is never going to get the 3, they decided we'll make a Half-Life 3, and they did. Except they can't call it Left 4 Dead 3, but essentially that's what it is. It's Left 4 Dead 3, and it's called Back 4 Blood, and it's basically Left 4 Dead 3. So there you go, folks. What people wanted for years, Left 4 Dead 3, we're getting it, except it's not called Left 4 Dead 3, but it's essentially Left 4 Dead 3. And if Valve was smart, they would buy the studio and just let them call it Left 4 Dead 3.
Seriously, guys. Have somebody have the orbs to say 3, and you'll be in business.
No, I think if you say Left 4 Dead 3, Gabe Newell will come out and butt stomp you. And no one wants to die, so they just refuse to say 3. Like, Left 4 Dead, so we're going to make a 3rd installment of Half-Life. Yeah, we'll call it Half-Life. No, not Lord Gaben. That's the reason why there's no Portal 3, there's no Left 4 Dead 3. Lord Gaben refuses to get to count to three. He can't do it, which is weird because Gabe Newell, I think, went to Harvard. Here, let me look this up. He's a very intelligent fellow. Gabe Newell.
I mean, he has a he has intelligence. I can give him
Oh, sorry. He
that.
attended
But
Harvard.
hearing him,
He attended Harvard University in 1980 and worked at and but dropped out to join Microsoft in '83, and he worked there for 13 years. So basically, Gabe Newell. Uh,
Harvard dropout,
Harvard dropout.
and he went to Microsoft.
Yeah, but my point is this.
And somehow he's scared of number 3.
Cannot count to three. Very intelligent fellow cannot count to three. He just refuses to count to three.
It's both funny and sad when you think about it.
That he cannot. Well, he's also very, very wealthy. So, I mean, when you have as much money as Gabe Newell does, you can afford to just say "fuck the number 3." You know, yeah. Like I'm pretty sure when he counts his money, he's like 1, 2, take this, wipe my ass with it, throw it away. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just as soon as he starts, as soon as he gets to 3, wipes his ass with it, throws it away, and just keeps on counting. He's very wealthy. So next we have an announcement from Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo of America, on the last year and looking ahead to 2021.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I read it and I really didn't give a fuck about anything that he said about anything because really, like, Nintendo of America hasn't had a say in anything since the Philips CDI. I hope you guys and the Super Mario movie, you know, 2 of Nintendo's biggest disasters ever. So yeah.
I was gonna say the movie. I could say it was a drunken. It was a drunken master mess.
Well, here's the sad thing about the Super Mario movie. If literally if that movie had not been called Super Mario, it actually would have been a pretty nice little dystopian steampunk type of or pipe punk movie. But the fact that they had the nerve to add Super Mario to it made it go from being, oh, this is nice, to fuck this movie. Which is sad because I've watched it since then and I've actually come to appreciate it.
I was saying that if anything, this is the kind of movie that would be great with alcoholic beverages.
I mean, apparently Bob Hoskins was drunk off his ass in that entire movie, which is kind of sad because the thing is, Bob Hoskins had just come off of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is one of the best cross-media films of all time. Like, let me put it this way. Everyone's always like, well, Sonic the Hedgehog and Detective Pikachu are great. They ain't got shit on Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say that those are Who Framed Roger Rabbit is still a great movie. I'm just saying that for its time, it was really a shining star.
What?
And the new saying, I was saying that for its time, it was a real shining star, and it still holds up today. I'm just saying that the new movies like Detective Pikachu and Sonic, those are the new shining stars of this time.
I disagree. And the reason I disagree is because, like Sonic the Hedgehog is eventually going to be surpassed by something else. Detective Pikachu is eventually going to be surpassed by something else. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, like, you're never going to see something like that ever again. You're never going to see Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny sharing the same screen.
Which is kind of a surprise in itself.
You're never going to see that ever again. Like, you're just not going to see that level of these characters together. Or have a dueling pianos with Daffy Duck and Donald Duck. You're never gonna see that shit again. And whereas there will probably be other animated films that surpass Sonic the Hedgehog and Detective Pikachu, but you're never gonna see something like Who Framed Roger Rabbit ever again. Because you had Robert Zemeckis at his best, you had Steven Spielberg executive producing at his best, and like people were truly enjoying making that film. You're just not going to see that ever again. So, like, and here's the thing: I know kids who went to go see those two terrible films, Sonic the Hedgehog and Detective Pikachu, think that they're great films. Go and watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and then compare it to the shit that you love. Okay. And then, you're going to love it when you're a kid. But then get older and watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit once you can understand deeper concepts. And then see how fucking baseless and shallow your Detective Pikachu and your Sonic the Hedgehog is. And then you're going to be like, oh shit, this is...
I was going to say that, if anything, Sonic has more than Pikachu.
Yeah, it has Jim Carrey.
Both of them are not going to...
Yeah. The only edge that I'll give Sonic the Hedgehog is that it has Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey makes that movie worth watching. But only for Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is the only reason that film is worth a damn. Because, like, Jim Carrey plays a Dr. Robotnik who is legitimately threatening. He's like, yeah, I could totally have my drones kill you, and no one's going to say anything because I'm sanctioned by the federal government. Fuck you, James Marsden. It's like, I'm like, God damn, this is like his Dr. Robotnik had a little bit of edge to him. Whereas Detective Pikachu, it's like, obviously, the heroes are going to win in the end and nothing bad is going to happen. Whereas in Sonic the Hedgehog, even though it was kind of silly, it's like, someone's going to die. Like, legitimately, someone is going to die. So I give Sonic the Hedgehog the edge, but still, they're not good movies. they really aren't. They're like, if a movie is only saved because you only have one actor in there who's just like overacting their ass off, that is not a good movie. So, but anyway, so Doug Bowser gave this bullshit cockamamie review, hyping up everything, and they're asking him questions that he has no control over. He's like, I know that people have asked and spoken to Microsoft regarding the idea of something like Game Pass ever appearing on the Switch. Is that something you've ever considered? Let me tell you something. Nintendo of America has no fucking power whatsoever over policy decisions for Nintendo. You know what Nintendo of America is? They're marketing in America. That's all they are. They are Nintendo's marketing arm in America. They can't make deals. They can't buy studios. They can't even put out games. Okay? Asking Nintendo of America to make a big decision is like going to a family's 5-year-old kid and asking them to sign for a car. Like, why are you talking to the kid? Kid can't do shit. He's just sitting there looking at you like, oh, I gotta ask my parents. So yeah, so what are your thoughts on that interview with Doug Bowser? Did you agree, disagree, like it, didn't like it?
It was kind of fun to watch, though. If anything, as in it's kind of fun to watch how it plays out. Though, if anything, it's clear that that the North America branch is basically the advertisement for here, where in Japan, well, it's where more of the action is.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, like, here's the thing, okay? Nintendo of America fucked up back in the 90s, okay? They were the ones who pushed for, letting Philips, get those licenses to make those Zelda games and those Mario games on the CDI. They're the ones who helped broker that deal for that Mario movie. Okay, and like, here's the thing about old Nintendo, Yamauchi era Nintendo. You didn't get 3 mistakes, you got 2. Okay, that second one, your ass was out. So he basically said, "Well, you aren't getting anything ever again." So they like the Nintendo America had the stick taken out of their hands. So they like basically like I find it amusing when like so-called Nintendo fans don't understand that Nintendo of America is just a marketing arm of Nintendo in America. Like they don't have any real power to do jack and shit. You know, like Reggie has no power.
To make the joke. I was gonna make the joke that Jack left town already.
Yeah. They can't do jack and shit, and Jack left town. Okay. They literally like they put it this way: Nintendo of America has as much power power as a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. All right.
He can get a kick in, but he's going to need help getting up.
No, he can't even get the kick in because you need leverage and a second leg to do that. He's got one leg. If he tries it, he's going to fall down. He's going to fall on his own ass. So basically, what I'm saying is this. When people ask Nintendo of America for anything, I'm like, I mean,
it's like talking to the air.
Well, what's that old thing? A shit in one hand, wishing the other, and see which one will fill first. That's basically what you're hoping for with Nintendo of America. Like that's what gets on my nerves when I hear about Nintendo of America. Like when people are like, let Nintendo of America free and do their own thing. Why? They don't have any game developers in Nintendo of America. They don't make shit in Nintendo of America. They make no games in Nintendo of America. I think the last development that they did was the WarioWare games that the March of the Mini games that had those issues because the guy who was in charge of it was from Japan and an asshole. Like that's and they shuttered that studio. So I don't want to hear, "Oh, let Nintendo of America." Why? You know, these people are marketing people. These people aren't like they don't do games. They're just a marketing arm. They're the public. They're the American face of Nintendo in America. That's all they are. And then this bullshit reason. Well, the reason these games are being removed from the eShop after March 31st, 2021. You want to know why? Because they're going to remove the games and then sell them for $40 a pop. So you could have paid $60 and gotten, Mario 64.
3 for 1.
Yeah, or they're going to charge you $40 a pop for all the shit. Because Nintendo is greedy. That's basically, and here's the thing. They're a for-profit company. They're sitting on $8.15 billion worth of cash reserves. Now, for those of you, which makes them the #1 company in Japan right now, for wealthiest company in Japan right now. Now, here's the thing. Before people say, that's a lot of money, Nintendo's balling. Microsoft is sitting on $115 billion of cash reserves.
I would make a comparison and say that both of those two are nothing compared to, oddly, the Pokemon Company.
No, the Pokemon Company's sitting at like 93.
Really?
Yeah. Pokemon Company doesn't. No.
I thought Microsoft was under Mike. I thought Pokemon Company beat Microsoft.
No. I don't think I'll look at it, but I'm pretty sure Pokemon Company cash reserves isn't more than. It's not more than Microsoft. I mean, it's not more than Microsoft. No, Nintendo is currently the most cash-rich company in Japan. That was in August, and they haven't made any big, they haven't made any big. They might be. I don't think they're valued more than Nintendo either. So yeah, #1. No, Microsoft has $136.6 billion of cash on hand, and. I mean, Like, I don't think the Pokemon Company is above that. I'm sorry. I don't, you know. For companies, your money is your so here are the top companies, and this was in August 25th. Number one is Japan with 890 8,090 0.4 billion yen, which is basically $8 billion. Okay. Number two is Shinetsu Chemical Industry, which is like $8.1 billion. Third place is SMC. Like, Pokemon Company isn't even on here. So, that I can see. So, I mean, you know, I can link it, but
I get you. I was just saying that I thought that the ones that the richest companies were Microsoft and were of Microsoft and the Pokemon Company.
I mean, the Pokemon Company might have a lot of money. They might, like, in terms of revenue, they might generate a lot of revenue, but they ain't generating more revenue than Microsoft. I'll tell you that much right now. That shit ain't happening.
At least I was thinking those two were at the top.
But anyway, yeah. So basically, in terms of cash money, like, okay, Nintendo, like, cash money for a company, cash on hand is like, well, it's basically like your penis size. Nintendo is respectable for Japan, but Microsoft is an American company, and they got enough dick to look. They got enough dick to fuck Nintendo and those other companies underneath Nintendo in Japan, and keep on fucking more companies down that list until they run out of dick. Okay, my point is this. People who think Nintendo is like, look, Nintendo hits above their weight, but they ain't like balling like that. Okay, they're balling. Like, look, if I had $100 million, I'd be like, well, I'm retiring. but Nintendo they got $8 billion in cash. That's pretty good. They have very valuable IPs, some of which they're running into the ground, but, you know, they can fix that. But yeah. Doug Bowser, yeah, the dude is, look, listen, you don't get to be number one cash in hand company in Japan by not being greedy bastards. That's why games are being removed on the eShop so that they can sell them individually for like $40, $50 a pop. Because Nintendo.
I was going to say that usually you get that way by saving money.
No, you get that way by maximizing how much money you make off of purchases, and Nintendo's always been big about that.
Yeah.
By basically, you know, look, everyone else's games go on sale for like $40, $30. Nintendo
is rare to come with sales, which is why I always keep an eye out for any surprise sales.
And when Nintendo does have a sale, it's normally bullshit compared to other companies' sales on their games, okay? Like, hey, we're having a sale. It's like, really? First party games? Okay, let's look at this sale. It's like $6 off of a $60 game. You're like, fuck you, that's not a sale. That's not a sale. Fuck you.
I was going to say 30% off a $10 game.
No. I mean, for first-party games, typically for Nintendo, because I remember when they had like a sale on some of their first-party games that sold really well. They're like, yeah, you can get 10% off. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then you look at it, 10% off of a $60 game is like $6. So the game went from being $59.99 to like $54.99. And I'm like, fuck you. Like back in the day when Nintendo had like, this is a million seller, it's a selects, it would go like to like $29.99, $19.99. Shit, those days are over. But like I said, you don't get to be the number one. You don't get to have that much cash reserves on hand by not maximizing your profit per transaction. So that's business. That's what they do. Um, so is Nintendo holding back games for a Switch Pro? Look, listen, how the fuck he might know about it, but he can't tell you. Personally, um, I don't think they're coming out with a Switch Pro.
Same.
I do think they're coming out with a new dock, but I don't think they're coming out with a Switch Pro. Um,
Yeah, that's the thing. The two of us are never gonna see a Switch Pro as far as we know it, but a new dock is something I never expect. So,
well, I mean, a new dock would make sense because basically, when you put the Switch in docked mode, it enables it to draw more power, which enables you to run the games better. The games run better in docked mode than they do in handheld mode.
handheld.
Yeah. So basically, uh, and this is just my own personal opinion, I think that they're coming out with a new dock so that games can run even better in docked mode than they do in handheld mode. Because here's the thing. In handheld mode, you already know you're taking a hit to performance because it's in handheld mode. Like you're gonna have to take that hit because you know, a lot of the processing power and power draw is being, instead of it coming directly from it being hooked into the mains, it's being hooked into it's drawing power from the unit itself, and there's only so much power that because the Switch is essentially a tablet with controllers attached to it. There's only so much shit you can do with a tablet with controllers attached to it. But when you basically, and it's having to display and run all that shit at the same time. When the Switch is in the dock, it doesn't have to display shit. All it has to do is just send that signal to your TV, which means a lot of the work is offloaded. So I do think that they're going to come out with a new dock that's going to even boost that. Because at this point, they want to keep the Switch going, but they don't want to alienate their base. So I think they'll come out with a new dock. They'll probably charge between $30 and $50, maybe even $60 for it. And you'll go and buy it and hook it up, and you can put your Switch into it, and basically, you know, you'll be able to play better games, like games in a better format that way. I'm guessing. I could be wrong. I don't know. Nintendo's weird. Nintendo's been doing shit that I said they never do. Like I never thought Nintendo would sell a defective controller and then lie and be like, "Oh, it's not a problem, really." I never thought in Japan Nintendo would release defective units, but they did that. So you know, there's a lot of shit where I'm like, they'd never do that. They're doing so. They might do a Switch Pro, but it's unlikely.
I'm still putting my money on no Switch Pro. Not saying there's no
let me put this way.
There's no extra dock, but
if this was in the Satoru Iwata days, I would say there ain't gonna be a Switch Pro. With this new dude, I'll take it down to 70%. I'm 70% sure that there's not gonna be a Switch Pro. But that still leaves 30% where there might be. Next, do you give a shit about the Nintendo theme park?
To be honest with you, I was curious about it. As in, what the heck is it?
I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't want to go. I don't like here at this point with COVID and people being like, even if people take we haven't reached full immunization. Why the fuck would I want to go to an amusement park filled with people who could get me sick so that I could die?
Yeah.
No, fuck
that. That bugs me.
No.
About that.
No.
Because they have to. Because if they're planning to open that up before COVID is taken care of and squashed, I'm gonna say whoever did that is really in bad taste, and that's something I will on their case about.
No, there is no way on God's green earth that I'm going to an amusement park while COVID is still a thing. It ain't happening.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way, okay? They could have an amusement park I'm gonna get kind of raw with this because it's something that I like. They could have an amusement park that's called Swingerland, and everyone there is STD free and can do all the freaky shit that you might like, whatever you want. And everyone's consenting adults, and it's like you go there and have the time of your life. And I wouldn't go because I'm like, I'm afraid of COVID. That's basically how I feel. So if I wouldn't go for an awesome sex party, what the fuck makes you think I would go for Nintendo shit? Hey, you can ride on Mario Kart, kind of, sorta. You can hang out with Mario. Yeah, no, not happening. No. And I'm a Nintendo fan, but I'm not a Nintendo fan to the point where I'm willing to die
Yeah,
for the shit.
I was gonna say that I'm a Nintendo fan myself, but I have to wonder who the heck authorized this. I mean,
They
if
need to put
anything,
they need to push this shit back to next year. That's what they need to do.
yeah, I mean, sure, this is something that I actually was curious about, but really, but opening that place up during a pandemic, that is kind of in bad taste.
Yeah, yeah, they need to push it back to next year. I know some people are gonna be like, "How could you say that?" Come on, man. You know good and hell well they need
And
to push that shit back to next year.
I was gonna say, whoever says that needs to needs to go outside and take a dip in a pool of ice water.
Yeah, it needs to be pushed back to next year. Um, that's what they need to do. They need to push it back to next year.
Yeah,
And when I say next year, I mean like maybe like the end of next year, like
like
maybe to
yeah,
2022. Okay, like like basically there should not be amusement parks where people are doing shit until they can get this other shit taken care of. And I know some people are gonna get mad. They're like, but
yeah. And
I
I
want to
said
hang
at
out
the
with my friends. I want to do this and
earliest,
that.
this will be taken care of by fall 2021 at the earliest.
Look, until you have like 95% of the people immunized, it's like you cannot it would be irresponsible for you to be opening fucking amusement parks and shit.
Yeah, and that's why I said that at the earliest, if people get their beep together, the earliest will be at fall 2020.
Yeah, but really it should be 2022 because the thing is like they're not going to have enough vaccines available for the general public in America until June, July, August. And then that doesn't mean that everyone's going to be immunized. That just means that they'll have enough available to start immunizing people, which means you're not going to have full immunization, even if people aren't skeptical and like just wait and hold back
Blonde.
until next year, until the year after next, so 2022. So it's like at that point, it's like I don't feel comfortable. Like people are like, yeah, I want to go to Super Nintendo World. I want to go to Nintendo Land. Are you fucking crazy? Shit. I wouldn't go to Nintendo World if they offered it. If they said we'll give you $1 million and a blowjob from the best blowjob artist of all time, female blowjob artist of all time, and we'll pay. Look, we'll give you $1 million. Like no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good. I don't need it.
Reason why I said I was curious of the place, but knew that this is a bit of a bad taste.
It's just we're coming off of a look. I know that people need to please their investors, but if CD Projekt Red taught us anything with Cyberpunk 2077, sometimes you got to tell your investors to go fuck themselves. For lack of a better term.
I was gonna say, if those investors are holding your pockets, that's gonna be a little more difficult.
I agree, but here's the thing. Okay, the investor said you need to get this game out no matter what. What would have been better? Them putting out an unfinished game like they did, or holding it back and taking a smaller hit and not getting screwed like they are now.
Yeah, saying that if if the investors holding your pockets, it's kind of a it's gonna be a fight gonna happen, but
No, I get it. Look, listen, okay. I'm lucky that I don't have. I'm not beholden to any investors. I own the business. No one can be like, "Oh, you got to do this." Hey, I own the shit. You can go fuck yourself. But I mean, here's the thing. I can appreciate people who have to deal with investors and shit like that. Thank God I don't have investors. I don't have partners. I own the business, so I can do whatever the hell I want. But I know there are people who, they gotta play it rough. They gotta play it hard. But I mean, it's a rough situation. I feel kind of bad for the people involved with it, but what are you gonna do? But yeah, Nintendo, like if COVID hadn't come out, Nintendo Land would be, man, I'm gonna go to the one in Florida. Now I'm like, fuck any amusement park.
yeah, at least until this mess is over.
I still just don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable with any amusement parks. I don't want to see any of it. I don't want anyone coming
Huh.
to my house. I don't want to. I don't want to be around people in general right now. Like the more stuff I can do from home, the happier I am.
Huh. I can only imagine how board game nights are at your place then.
Well, the great thing is that you can do most of the like D&D you can do from home. If you have Discord, you can do it over your Discord thing. So that's not really a
Yeah,
I
I
could
didn't say what kind of I didn't say what kind of board game.
I
So
mean, yeah, but I mean like the way it is now, I don't want to invite people to my house. Hey, come there,
yeah,
come play this. No, I'm good.
I'm. I was thinking that if anything, close family that lived there with you, that
No,
would be
man.
the only ones that we have in the game
The the
one
only
night with you. But
family that I have that's close to me is my mother, and my mother is of the age where I don't really go around her that much because if I'm around someone who has COVID, I don't want to give it to her. So,
good point.
you know, that's what the phone is for. The phone, webcams, you can talk to people across the world with a good connection without having to be in the same room with them. That's why that technology is so miraculous. People are like, well, I want to go home for the holidays, and I'm seeing these stories in the news where people gave COVID to an old person who was immunocompromised,
Oh,
and I'm like, why
that's the
couldn't you
thing that
fucking stay
bugs
where you
me.
were? People told you, don't travel, stay
That's the
your ass home.
Yeah,
Nah,
that's the
okay,
thing
all
that bugs
right.
me the most. That if anything, one thing to stay at home and have game nights with your family you live with if you live near them or next to them, but traveling to see them, you're just asking to hurt them a lot.
Like I said, I have a elderly person who lives.
Hi.
I have an el. I the person who lives closest to me is my mother. She is elderly, so she's in that age group where she is at risk. So I'm like, you know what? Like the only time I've seen her is when I've had a COVID test and I knew I was clear and I was practicing the procedures. And I have had a COVID test almost like had COVID tests almost every month. Um, so I'm good, but I mean, there are people who aren't doing that. They've had like one COVID test, if that, and they're like, yeah, well, I was clear then. Yeah, but have you been practicing social distancing? Have you been washing your hands, covering your face, staying 6 feet away from people? A lot of people aren't doing that. They're like, oh, well, I feel fine. Well, shit. A lot of people feel fine. Look with STDs. There are people who there is no like they show no symptoms and they have
No symptoms,
STDs.
and then when something goes south, it hits like a what was it? A piece of dung, right?
Well, until their immune system is so compromised that then it shows. But I mean, or they give it to somebody else. It's like like there's some people who get chlamydia, no symptoms, till they give it to someone, and then it burns when they pee, and they have the weird discharge, and it's like, oh shit,
Feelings.
that is ugh.
Yeah,
But anyway, my point is this: we got kind of real there. Let's keep it moving. But anyway, yes, I will not be going to Super Nintendo Land, mostly because I don't want to be around a lot of people, and there is no way you can practice social distancing in an amusement park. You can't, because if you're in line to watch it to get on a ride, um, you're going to be near a lot of people. It's just you cannot, in good conscience, practice social distancing. Uh, in an amusement park. Can't do it.
I was about to say, especially if it has kids.
Well, I mean, at this point, it's not even kids. It's you cannot practice social distancing in an amusement park because if you're in line to, because like I used to go to Universal Studios once every 2 or 3 years. I think every 2 or 3 years. No one in their right mind, like even the adults, people aren't practicing social distancing, and that was like 4 years ago. It's worse now because you have people who deny the science, and you have people who just don't care, and so you know.
That that scares me a lot more than what's going on right now in the world.
People who just don't care about the science and just don't care about social distancing. Well, my point is this: is that
People
it's
that don't care about science because that means they are going to be so foolish that they are going to spread not only stupidity by trying to t- trying to preach to other people, but also other unwanted airborne
okay. All right, but anyway, yeah, it's I. But we went too far in that direction. In order to wrap things up, let's get to our a-hole of the weeks. Of the week, we brought it back because of what happened with CD Projekt Red. So who? I have 3 nominations for a-hole of the week. All right, 3. Okay. My first nomination is CD Projekt Red themselves, it's specifically the upper management and the investors for putting out a product that was clearly not ready to be put out on most of the platforms it was on. And then I'm also calling an a-hole of the week for Sony because now they're acting like, oh well, this game didn't meet our quality standards. Then why was it certified to go
really.
on your? Why was it certified to go on your platform if it didn't meet your quality standards?
And you had the nerve to even take it off after all that kerfuffle,
I
and then
mean,
try to say that you're going to do refunds.
that's the equivalent of. I mean, that's the equivalent. I mean, the situation, the behavior is similar. The situation is different. That's like going to a school where they know a teacher has been known to have inappropriate relationship with their students, and they did it in other school counties, in other school districts, and it's known that they did this in other school counties and school districts. They come to another school district and you act like, oh yeah, we can't believe this happened. You mean you didn't know what they did in other places before they came here, and you hired them anyway? You knew and you hired them anyway, and now you're acting surprised when they got caught? Really? Man, get the fuck out of here with that shit. Um, but that's my own personal opinion. I know some people will disagree because people always disagree about everything. Because people love, you know, equating
Conflict.
things in different ways. Well, people like equating things in different ways. Um, so they just put a new patch out for for Cyberpunk 2077. It's patch 1.05, and it's fixing a lot of the issues that were wrong with the game, which is what happens on PC nowadays. Shit is constantly being patched and fixed after time. So There you go. But anyway, yeah. So and my third nomination for asshole of the week is Microsoft, because once again, how did this game get through your certification process if it was so buggy and glitchy to be on your platform?
I'm it. I agree with you on all three of those, and yet
Or
it's going to be hard to even pick one.
or is the truth more devastating, which is there is no certification process. Basically, the only thing that goes on is that a contract is signed where a certain amount of money for a game is going to go to Microsoft or Sony for units sold on their storefront. And basically, as long as basically, the only time that the game has any real issues is if, um, oh, we have a viewer comment, Derek Hurlbert. I was about to read that as Hurlbutt, sir. Stories of the news, LOL. Well, not really stories of the news. I think that the people who are talking all this shit about Cyberpunk 2077, it's like, yes, they shouldn't have put a game that was clearly not ready to be on those platforms. But at the end of the day, they're supposed to be gatekeepers in that process. And let's keep it real. If the game was that buggy and unable to be played on the PS4 and the Xbox One, how did it get through certification?
Makes you wonder what their standards are.
You know? And this isn't like it was during the day with the Nintendo seal of approval, where there were shit games with the Nintendo seal of approval. They weren't buggy, broken, glitchy pieces of garbage. They just weren't that good. I mean, this is a game that has some major issues. And look, listen, it's not the only game that has had major issues. I mean, look at Fallout 76 from last year. That game was in worse shape, and it, to some extent, still is in worse shape than this game. And yet, guess what? It wasn't taken off the store. So that's where I'm kind of like I'm very how can I put this? I'm very suspect of people talking about how this is the worst game ever and how dare they, and this game is just, how dare, this is the worst game ever. I'm like, really? For real? Like, you must have short-term memory loss. Because there's been some worse game just during the eighth gen. There's been worse games that have come out.
Yeah, and as I, as we said earlier, even if this was trying to compete for glitchiest game of 2020, there's at least one game that actually beat beat 20. I mean, Cyberpunk 2077.
Fallout 76,
Like, blame.
The Division. Because people forget that game. People forget how buggy and glitchy that game was at launch.
To be honest, yeah, I didn't see how the division turned out.
Yeah, the Division, when it first came out, the code was so bad that the game was devouring itself.
Dang.
So when people are like, "Yeah, this is the worst game ever," I'm like, For real? Are
I at
you
least would say that.
are you serious? Like, basically, when people say it's like the worst game ever, I'm like, are you serious?
I didn't. Yeah, I could agree that it's not the worst of the games that of the year, but it definitely tried to be one of the more glitchy games of the year.
And then again, I mean, it depends on what you're playing it on. Like, for example, I have it on PC. I didn't have any of those issues. Like I've seen people who have it on.
I'm trying to go for overall, which
Well, I mean, I've seen
means
people. I've seen
everywhere.
people. I've seen people who have the game on other platforms who don't have those same issues. So when I hear people say, "Oh, it's so bad," I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I would say it's definitely the most unstable game that I've seen in a while, but it's definitely not the most buggy and glitchy because I've seen worse this gen.
I only said this year. You saying next? You
This
saying this entire gen? Whew,
well, I mean, because the thing is that we
that's
haven't.
a large
The thing
competition.
is, we had a lot of games that were supposed to come out this year got delayed because of COVID. So I can't necessarily say it's the most buggy this year because there were a lot of games that were supposed to come out this year that did not come out because of COVID-19, allegedly.
Ah,
So it's like it would be inequitable for me to say that. You know, it's kind of like when people say, it's kind of like if someone says, well, so and so is the best at this sport. It's like, how can you be the best at a sport when you haven't played against the best? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I get you. I was just saying that if anything, at least the, at least this year had a low amount of competitors for it.
Mm, fair, fair. But anyway, that's my opinion. I could.
So if anything, who do we give a hole of the week? It's tempting to go at Sony and Microsoft because they're the gatekeepers.
Yeah, but we got to give it to CD Project Red.
Yeah, at least have the at least be up. I was gonna say, you guys were a lot, so I'm gonna say it right now. You're the chosen one. You're not supposed to go with them.
Well, I mean, the sad thing about CD Project Red is that they basically destroyed their good name. And now they're gonna have to
Yeah,
they're gonna have to rebuild their good name. And the
yeah.
thing is, it is hard. Like it's like when you get caught in a lie, it
It,
is
I was
hard
gonna
to
say
rebuild after that.
it it takes three. It could take 3 years to build a reputation and 3 seconds to lose it. Right?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you know, at this point, the only thing CD Project Red can do is just start fixing the game and be transparent while fixing the game. Um, so that's the only thing. That's the only thing that can be done at this point. Is that they're gonna have to start fixing this game one step at a time, bit by bit, and regain that goodwill. Now, to be fair, look, listen, this game has had two patches in a week and a half since it came out December 10th. So, yeah, a week and a half. So, really, they've been on the ball with patching it. Now, they should be because this game is not in a state where it should have been released in the first place, but they are doing their damnedest to fix it. So, I can't get that mad at them. You know what I'm saying? Because on a personal level, because like I said, I have the version of the game that I have the version of the game that the game was built for. It was built for PC. So, and I have a PC that's specced out enough to run it relatively well. But even I've encountered glitches that shouldn't be in a game that, you know, was developed properly. So, you know. Anyway, that's my opinion. Uh, Anything you want to bring up before we wrap things up?
Hmm.
Any community topic?
To be honest with you, I was about to ask, do you have anything ready for the day after Christmas or Box Day, as some call it?
Only if you're in Canada. But I am not Canadian. I think I might have some relatives in Canada, but can't be sure. But basically, I do have something picked. I do have something for the day after Christmas. Um, but I'm really saving something for the 31st because the 31st is New Year's Eve, and I plan on doing a New Year's Eve podcast. Um, if you'll join me, that's going to
I
be a
don't see what I
Thursday, but
can do,
uh,
especially after what happened recently.
I realize that. So if you can't join me, that's okay. But so I will probably do a New Year's Eve cast or something just to pass the time. But if not, we can always move it to another
Yeah,
time.
we'll see
But
what happens.
I might do something the day after Christmas, but it's probably not going to be huge. I might just talk about the day after Christmas cast. Might just be something special, non-video game related. We might talk about Christmas movies we like to watch or something. I don't know.
That actually be a good idea. A a holiday themes that you'd go for.
Yeah, so that's what I'll
So if
probably do.
anything, keep the snow levels to a minimum because I have a feeling that you don't want to be iced for it. Oh
Uh,
God, I'm sorry for that one.
I mean, to be honest with you, I do play some games that have snow, but I'm not a big snow person in video games. But that's my own personal opinion. So let's wrap it up and call it a night.
Yeah, in that case, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, to the BS Busters end of the week podcast for December 19th. 6 days until Christmas. I am Joy Eli Moonstar, and of course, this is Mr. Red Fox. And we'd like to have you comment on us or even message us. There's Discord, there's email, there's Twitter.
Yeah, and you can always chat in the comment section. If you chat, I will attempt to answer